The Learn to Code Summer Camp Day 1, installing C++ Builder. Yes, this is the C++ session. This will be recording and also have more succinct, potentially more edited versions of this available as well. I'm going to use the Microsoft Translation live translation service. Let me turn that on. This is pretty cool. It does have a tendency to disconnect, so I have been doing pretty good about reconnecting it, but there is the link for it in there. So if you click out on that, you can join into the live translation, and it's transcribing as I talk so that you can follow along in other languages, or just see a transcription of what I'm saying. Sorry, I was spacing for a second there. Real quick about me, if you don't know who I am, Jim McKeith, Chief Developer Advocate and Engineer for Embarcadero, longtime software developer. Very excited about this. On my weekends and holidays, on vacation, if I get a chance to, I will still be teaching people how to program, much to the chagrin and frustration of family and friends, I'm sure. This is the main stream. Right now, we're doing installing an intro to C++ Builder 10.4.2 Community Edition. Up next in an hour, we're going to have installing an intro to PyScripter for Python. So stay tuned for that as well. But this is just going to be real basics of installing C++ Builder, answering your questions about installing C++ Builder, and the layouts of IDE, getting started, writing your first simple hello world type program. Then we'll have additional resources and stuff available to you later. Tomorrow, I'm going to get into basics, more into working with Delphi. And Wednesday, the mainstream, instead at the noon, we have our Tea, Coffee, and Code, which is a separate stream. You can find details on the website, Summer Camp. If you go there, you'll find links for each day as the days come, and how to take part in that day. So this is installing this is Delphi. There we go. Installing C++ Builder 10.4. If you're in the last session, it's going to be very much the same sort of thing, but I am doing both because there's some subtle differences, and I think it's worth trying to make sure I cover both effectively. So let me get into the installer page. So you'll come here. This is the page you go to download Community Edition. If you want to start downloading it as you go along here, you're more than welcome to. You're going to need to fill out the form, and I'm going to try this earlier. I could not log into my account. That's the old email. Let me pause my screen real quick and see if I can do this again. It was saying my password was wrong, or I don't know. I'm sure that if I wasn't doing a live stream, I could figure it out. But you'd fill out that form, complete the CAPTCHA. My son says that you should never do these CAPTCHAs that are recognizing things on the street accurately, because you're only doing is training up the robot overlords that are going to try and take over the world. So it's our responsibility as humans to thwart them. Okay, so I did it correctly. I got a license. So you will be presented with a screen like this. We'll give you a link to download your, it's going to be, say, RAD Studio 10.4.2. The RAD Studio contains both C++ and Delphi inside of it, then based on the serial number you provide determines what gets installed. So you'll have the same installation for Delphi or C++ Builder Community Edition, but you can only install one. I'm not going to download that again because I've already downloaded it, but I will jump over to my email and grab my serial number real quick. You will have your own serial number to use during installation. I'm not going to give you my serial number because, oh, I guess I don't need that just yet. Let me go to, so once you've downloaded it, you'll click to start installing, and you'll see a screen like this that says you want to allow this app to make changes to your device, user account control. It's possible you've disabled this on your computer, but you will be installing on Windows 10. I would recommend installing with an account that has administrative privileges so that you can have this sort of prompt. Otherwise, you would need to log in as a different user to give privileges to install this because it is installing in the program files folder. It'll then pop up and say, ask you to agree to the license agreement. If you want to change the install location, you can do that here. But we're going to leave it in that location and for all users and agree to the license agreement. I did install on a machine that already had license installed on, so I will remove the old license and put a new license on here. So you won't get that screen unless you're installing on a machine that you already have 10.4.2 installed on, which if you do, they will argue with each other. Not supported. So you'd say I already have a product serial number. And then you'll be presented with this screen here. This is the screen that you'll provide your serial number, your username, and your email address, username, or password to register that. So I'm going to pause this because I'm not going to share mine. Oh, wait, I'm not sharing screen. Dagnabbit. My screen was paused. I apologize. Let me start over. Okay, so it is sharing my screen now. So yeah, here's where you're going to say approve user account control. I'm not going to change. There's options where you can change that, not changing it. I'm going to say new license because I do have an existing license on here. And so you probably won't have the previous screen. You will have this screen. You'll say, I already have a product serial number. Check your email. That's where it's at. It's emailed to you. And I will pause it for that. So James is saying, I didn't realize Delphi was pronounced Delphi. I thought it was pronounced Delphi. Live and learn. It's pronounced both. Marco Cantu is the product manager for Delphi, and he pronounces it Delphi. That is the European pronunciation. He's from Italy. Some would argue that that's technically the correct pronunciation because it's named after the location, the place, and that's how they pronounce it there. But I am from the US, and so I pronounce it Delphi. All right, let me put my serial number in now. So you should have an email with a serial number in it. And put your own serial number in. I'm going to remove my other license that I already had installed earlier. I forgot to do it before starting the installation, so that there only has one license installed because it can cause problems if you have multiple licenses installed. Oh, I hit the wrong thing. I got to start over again. Sorry, just a second here, and I'll catch up, and then I'll answer a couple questions. So you can call it either Delphi or Delphi, just don't call it late for dinner. So one advantage, Keenan's saying that his internet's really slow. If you there's two different versions of that you can download. The version that you get by default is the dynamic downloader, and it only downloads the parts it needs. as opposed to downloading everything ahead of time, which is the ISO offline installer. All right, so let me resume my screen, and it is installing. Now mine are probably installed a little quicker because I am installing from the offline installer because I pre-downloaded things, but I learned my lesson from earlier. Let's see. Yeah, so Ian's online. He says he's British American and he pronounces it Delphi. So, like I said, either one. Okay, so apparently Community Edition does not alike that installer. Yeah, get creative. I apologize. Give me 1 second here and I will fix the mess I've made and get this working, and then I can do the. All right, one more time. So that'll give you a chance if you're on slower internet to catch up with me since I keep restarting. Okay, so this is the platform selection screen when installing C++ Builder Community Edition. It's different than if you're installing Delphi or Rad Studio because this one only gives you C++ options. So I'm going to go ahead and install Windows, iOS, and Android. Those are the platforms that C++ Builder supports. That's different than the platforms available with Delphi. So that's one reason you might choose Delphi over C++. But one advantage C++, of course, gives you is that you can take advantage of additional C++ standard libraries. So here's the additional options screen. You can install the samples, which I think is a great idea. Additional languages, if you are multilingual or not English language is your main language, you can choose that there. The help, T-chart is a charting component. D-unit is for unit testing. Interbase, this is a database. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip, actually, I usually recommend you install that, but I'm going to skip those to speed up my installation. Interbase is a database. IBX is components to connect to that database. And this is for Android development. This is the Android JDK that you need to do Android development. And this is the Android SDK, or I'm sorry, this is the Java JDK based on adopt Open JDK, and the Android SDK needed for Android development. I'm not getting into that today, so I'm going to skip that for right now. But I would recommend that you do that so that you can take advantage of that if you want to. Is there a list of what's happening for each day? It appears I have to register again and again. So if you register for the mainstream, that will get you the main content, there are content each day on the mainstream, which is where you're at now, but there are additional content also available. If you go to the homepage for this, I can put the link in here for you again, then you can find the link for each day. So this is the main page, which will have links to each page. And then each day will have a page as well. So here's the link for page 1 or day 1. Today is here, and there will be a day 2 page up later today. So yeah, there'll be details about that. Some of it's evolving as we go along, and so there'll be some changes. But yeah, so this is installing right now. While this is installing, I'm going to jump over into a already installed version of Delphi or C++ Builder to show you a few things and talk about that. We close this out. So this is Rad Studio. It has both Delphi and C++ Builder. Actually, I need to launch I launched the Delphi version of Rad Studio, not the C++ version of Rad Studio. So we restart that. So when you go into C++ Builder Community Edition, it will look very much like this without the error message. I wonder if, that's odd. That worked earlier. Let's see if we get that again. Always fun when you get an error message in a live stream. So basics of here. This is the welcome screen, and actually I can go, this is the welcome screen. You can open recent projects. This is projects that you, yeah. Something, I'm not sure if it's my network or what, but I'm not able to connect to the Get It server. I had a message earlier about that, but I did get on the Get It server at one point. So Get It is our package manager where you can, it's available here from Get It Package Manager. It has updates and some additional components that you can get optionally install. I wasn't planning to get into that today, so hopefully we get that resolved, or I figure out what's wrong with my network. Okay, so this is the welcome page. You have a list of videos over here. These are on our YouTube channel. You can find them there as well, but we just try and provide some sneak peeks, webinar replays, and useful things for you here. This has some getting started resources, see what's new. Here's where you can manage your platforms and extensions. So let's say you wanted to, you skipped one of those samples, or you skipped one of the optional components, you want to add it again later, or you want to change which platforms you installed, etc. You can do that from here. And this brings up Get It Package Manager. So both of those are also up here. Get It Package Manager, Platform Manager. There are two different frameworks, visual frameworks that are included. There's VCL, which is for Windows. It's the default original visual framework for Delphi. And then there's multi-device FireMonkey, which is used for creating applications for iOS and Android from C++ Builder. So, and as well as Windows. So, or you come up here and say new, other, and see all the different options you can choose. You're not going to have RAD server or data snap because those are enterprise edition features, but you'll have all the other options of things to build here. We're going to probably embarrass myself because my C++ is a little rusty, but I'm going to start with a, let's start with a console application. So a console application is the simplest command line type application you're going to build. With C++, you're presented with this option here so that you can customize a little bit. I'm just going to say the defaults, but you could customize this if you wanted to. If you wanted to use C versus C++, or if you wanted to use, yeah, change the threading model, stuff like that. I probably could have done that to simplify this even more. All right, so in here, this is the I don't know why it's giving me an error message there. It doesn't like that. You can ignore that. So I'm going to do write a little simple hello world application, except it's, what did I do wrong here? See, I told you I was going to embarrass myself. Oh, it's the other quotes. Sometimes I get my syntax mixed up. All right. So I'm going to run this and it's going to appear and disappear really quick. You probably didn't even see it flash on the screen. There's a real quick flash. But if I go into the folder where this is at, actually I'm going to clean up all the stuff I had earlier. So let me save this. Just give it the default names and save it and then run this. And oh, that's right. Go in here into the folder. We'll see in here we have oops, it has the old one from earlier. So that's the one I made earlier in Delphi. But right here, this is the application was created by C++ Builder. And if I run this in a console window, like this, it says hello world. If I come in here and change this, if I can say hello world from C++ Builder, and I will come over here and recompile this. Let's see, build. That's going to compile it again and then come back in here. I can say project2.exe, hit enter, it says hello world from C++ Builder. So what we've done is the IDE is the editor. IDE is an integrated development environment. It brings all the tools together you need for writing a program. And this source code here, I've written this code here that is readable both by humans and computers. And then the compiler takes this code and converts it into a program, an application, which on Windows is a .exe file that the computer is able to execute on the CPU. Okay, so it takes and translates it, if you will, to something the computer can follow. And every time I run this, it's going to run the same code over and over and over again, same behavior very quickly. That's the basics of creating a, so that's your hello world example, if you will. Now, I'm going to say, was, oh, I didn't want an integer. Except it's probably, oops. All right, let me do this. Let's do it this way. So I'll put this in here, my number, and then run this. Oh, I have to do, so we are going to have some, C++ is not my main thing. I wanted to cover most of the installation today. We have somebody else that's going to do some content later on in the week that's going to cover more in C++, more C++ specifics. So maybe I should just go with that instead of trying to do some of this here myself. Let's see if there's some questions here. So the question here about Delphi versus C++ Builder, you pick one. So the camp's going to cover, it's covering multiple topics. It's not, so you can choose which part you want to learn versus other parts. And then you can, yes, thank you. I'm not trying to teach C++ today, just trying to give you a brief introduction to the IDE and compiling and stuff like that. There'll be someone tomorrow that is way more familiar in this that can show you how to do this actually. So int my number equals 42, and then I can say oops, no, there's no chicken in there. All right, so there we go. This is a simple application compiling, and if I jump back out here now and say project, they're not saying 42, and I can then do standard arithmetic with this. My number equals my number times 2. Oops, and then I'll run it from here. Now it says 84. Okay, so my number is an integer. That's how you define this. It says this is an integer, not a whatever else. If I wanted to display a message in here, I don't do console applications in C++ very often. I would say string message equals test. Just a second here. So actually me making mistakes is very useful because the reality is none of us keep all this in our head. I can't remember it. All right, let me switch to a non-console application. I'm a little better there. So I'm gonna make a regular Windows VCL application. This is one of the great things about C++ Builder is you can, I think, more easily build this than the console application. So I'm gonna put down some simple components here from the component palette. All right, so I'll arrange these to what I find aesthetically pleasing. And I'll put, so I have a button here. The button gets a name by default of the type minus the T. So by default, the type is what identifies what it is. And then it has a number of button 1. I can change the text that's on it, the caption. Here, so I can say, click me, right? And then it changes the caption there. And I can also change this guy. So instead of having a text of edit 1, I can just have it be blank. All right, so this is an edit box. This is a place user can type things into. This is a list box. This has a list of strings in it. And this is a button that a user can click on. Now, over here in the Object Inspector, we have properties, which lets you change things like the size, for example, or the text like you saw earlier. And you can also change its position either by dragging it around here or resizing it here. You can do that from the Property Inspector as well. And then from the Events tab, you can come in here and add the interactivity to it. So for the on click, I'm going to just come in here and double click, and this takes me into the code view. So this is the code that's behind the design view. I can navigate between them here. And in here, I can do list box 1. The list box 1 is that list box, and it has a property called items. And I'm going to say items. Why isn't this? I think I have to do the first build once. Okay. Okay, so let me go back here and I'll show you what I'm doing, what this is. So this list box has a property called items on it. Right here, and items has a property, a method on that called add that lets you add an item to it. So now what I've done is, and then we saw earlier the edit box has text property. So now when you click the edit box or the button, it's going to add the text of that to the list box. And that's the problem right there. It's edit 1 is the name of the component. So again, it gets the type with a number after it. I could have renamed it, but I didn't. And now I'll run this and it works. Okay, and I can say hello C++, and click that, add it to the list. Say hello summer camp. Click that, add it to the list. Okay, so there is some basics there. Oh, std string, yep. Why can't install both Delphi? So if you want to have both, then you can buy Rad Studio, but the free version is one or the other. So having both as a premium feature, it's not given away for free. I apparently was forgetting to do std : string. Jose said it's like Visual Basic GUI programming with the power of C++ or Delphi. Great. Exactly. Yeah. And that's kind of was the idea, is that a lot of things that are, yes. Lose your. I saw it was interesting. I saw a quote from somebody saying that they'd written a framework that was a very popular computer programming framework, and that they still had to look up how to use it, even though they wrote it. And that is so true, that you just cannot keep all of it in your head at once, and you will be looking things up, and you will be making mistakes as you go and fixing mistakes. That's why I said earlier that programming is more about reading code than it is about writing code, because you can make mistakes. That's just the way it goes. So in here, let's see, I did that. Unfortunately, it's still installing. It didn't finish installing it. Any questions? Let me see if there's any other questions. Ian's been in here helping, I can answer questions. Yep, I do make some mistakes, but that's kind of part of if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying. Let's see. Yeah, keep sticking with it. So so I made a lot of mistakes here, and you're gonna make mistakes when you're writing code. That happens, and you're gonna keep trying. So you just edit things, try things, go search for it. Usually when I'm doing a live stream, I make stupid mistakes. But then when I get used to programming not C++ isn't my first language, then you'll figure it out pretty quickly and be able to go from there. And you can search online. When you are finding code online and using it, make sure you understand what the code does. You don't want to just use code arbitrarily that you don't understand what it is, because that can introduce problems for sure. Some other things you can do. So I'm going to go a little bit a little bit more advanced, but at the same time, it's pretty simple what you can do with it. Is you can use the, so right now I just made a FireMonkey component. So FireMonkey multi-device application. This supports iOS and Android and Windows, so you can target different platforms, which tomorrow I'll go into a little bit of details about how to target different platforms. But I just wanted to show you a different framework here for this, but I wanted to show you how you can connect to data and display database information. So this is the Database Explorer. It gives you the ability to connect different data sources and display data from them. And I want to connect to this database here. This is just a SQLite database that we ship with some sample data in it. And I want to display the customers table. So I can drag that onto here. And so these are what's called non-visual components. And so what that means is when I run this program, you're not going to see them. They're non-visual. They're only visible at design time to give you something easy to work with as a reference. You can see those components are not there. They disappear. If you want to hide them at design time, you can do that with this button here. But this component here, this is a SQLite database connection. So this connects to a SQLite database, and this displays the information from the customers table. So now if I want to display this to the user, I can come in here and get a grid, a string grid, and put it down on the form. And then use what we call live bindings. So I can right click on this thing and say bind visually. And actually, first thing I want to do is I want to open the query editor. So we'll get into SQL later in the week, but this is a SQL statement that will get the SQL data from the customers table. And there's the data right there. So I'm going to say field editor. I want to add the fields from that table. And then in here, I want to connect this is the string grid. This is the customers table. So you can see as I select them down here, it reflects up there what I selected. And I connect the customer table to the string grid and display the information in there. And if I come here and set it active to true, we can see all the data within that table. I can come in here, bind visually, and say add navigator. So I can add a little navigation control here. And now I can compile this and run it. And I've created a simple database application. It doesn't do anything that interesting. It just displays table data from the table. Although the actually really interesting thing is I can say, I can change this, right? Make a change to it, hit this button here to post it. I can jump to the end, beginning, close it, reopen it, and see it persisted my change because it is actually writing to that database. So I've created a simple database application, kind of like what you might do with Excel, a spreadsheet type thing here with Delphi without writing any code because, or not, sorry, not Delphi, C++ builder, because using the live bindings. This is just an example of some of the stuff, more advanced stuff you can do. Now, this isn't really fundamentals of programming stuff, but just kind of give you an idea of once you get some of the basics that you can start to leverage the libraries and stuff to get a lot done quicker. So it's, I guess, in case you get frustrated with writing code, so that you know that there are ways that you get more productive in the future. You don't have to write as much code as you learn to use some of the other tools. Now, C++ Builder is still installing, so I don't know if it's going to be finished in time. You are presented by a screen. Let's see, I think it's on view. Nope. I thought there was a way to bring it up here. So when you first start up, you're presented with a screen that asks you what views you want to have, whether you want to have what theme you want to use, so you can change themes and a couple other things. It's pretty easy. It's not something you're going to get confused on, I don't think. But that's the only thing I haven't got to show you yet on the. That's interesting. That didn't repaint. Usually that does. Weird. there. So let's see, check question log. Yeah, C++ is not my strong suit, but I wanted to kind of show you some of the basics of getting started. And like I said, we'll have some more stuff later in the week to dive into it. Oh, how can I delete the event of the button, for example? Okay, that's a good question. So in here, I don't have my code here. All right, I'll do another button, put the button down, and then in the button, so you can double click on most components. They have a default action, which in this case is the click event handler. And I can do, I'll do a show message. Hello world. So now how do you delete that? So there's two things you can do. One is I can select the button and go to the events tab, and we can see right here it says on click is the button one click event handler code. So I can come here and delete that, and that will disconnect the linkage between the two, but the code still exists in here. The other option I can do is if I leave that here and then come in here and delete this code out of here, the IDE automatically discovers when you run it, it's like, oh, you're not using that anymore. Whenever you save it, I'll save it. Or when you run it, it will clean up the code and clean out the event handler, the empty event handler and the linkage without not working. And so now I'll run it and the button will do nothing. Let's see. Unfortunately, there's a question here that is not in English. I apologize. Oh, the translation thing quit working. All right, I got the transcription and translation running again. Can I quickly generate a class diagram or a call graph? Yes, I believe so. It's not something I'm familiar with. If you go to, so I will point out there's a great resource here. If you go to docwiki.embarcadero.com, this is a good online help source, and you can find some information in here about, so we search for class diagrams. So here's information on UML class diagrams, class diagram procedures, and stuff like that. So if you come here and look around, you can usually find some information on stuff you need to do, or just use your favorite search engine, or go to Stack Overflow, or I recommend you join the community. So if you go to blogs.embarcadero.com and go to the community tab here, we have a list linking to some other communities that in different languages even. I think most of these are Delphi related, some of them are C++. Yeah, so there's C++ Developer Journal, C++ Developer Facebook group, and such. So you can come out here, find a community. Excuse me, most of them are fairly welcoming. It's always awkward when you're joining a new community because there's usually some rules they have about how you do things and how you ask questions and stuff, and it can take a while to learn the rules and learn how to ask questions appropriately. But yeah. Okay, I need to wrap up because I have to get ready for the next session, and we will do that. So there will be more in-depth stuff on C++ Builder later in the week. So do check back to the, if you go to the homepage for this, which is, so here's day one. There'll be another post tomorrow or later today with day two and having some of the details of what's coming tomorrow. So check back there to get the links for stuff for that. Oh, asking about Android API 30. I don't remember what version. So there is a, place here you can come to see the what versions of what is supported here. So 10.4.2 is supporting Android 11, which I think is the latest version. API version, I think that's version 30. Android does this weird thing where sometimes they call it one thing and sometimes they call it another thing. That's not it. I think that's API version 30. Yes, Android 11 API 30. So 10.4.2 is Android 11 API 30. Oh, Ian just said yes, it is. So yeah, you can't. So Rad Studio, C++ Builder, and Delphi are three different installations. You can't have all three installed at once. But if you install Rad Studio, if you've bought Rad Studio Professional, Enterprise, or Architect, it includes both Delphi and C++ as options internally. Oh, and my install just finished. So you click Start Working, and it'll jump up and have the. So yeah, there's the C++ Builder community screen. So I got the Community Edition license to work this time. And that's because I uninstalled the other version beforehand. Apparently did not clean it up. So there we go. That's your when you start up the first time. Something similar to that. If you need C++ Builder, then you can buy Rad Studio and switch to C++ Builder Community Edition, but you cannot have both Delphi and C++ Builder. Can we build Android apps even if we're using Community Edition? Yes. I installed C++ Builder before. How can I install the features to write programs for other systems if I did not install everything before? Come here, Tools, Manage Platforms, and you can add or remove platforms or additional features from here in order to add them later. If you're getting license errors during installation, you may need to run the license manager, which I think is available from here. So in the Delphi, in the Rad Studio or Delphi or C++ Builder folder, there is a program called License Manager. If you run that, add two of those running, you can check to see if you have your license installed correctly, or maybe you have an old license. So maybe, for example, you had an old 10.3 license or a trial license. Remove those licenses and try again. And I don't see License Manager here. I thought it was available from there. Okay, but I do need to go now so I can get ready for the next session. Thank you, everybody. Oh, there it is right there, License Manager. So I'm not going to click into mine because it'll show you my license key, but come in here, expand that out, remove your old licenses, and then add your license again new, and see if that fixes it for you. Okay. So if you are, there will be content tomorrow in both Delphi or C++ Builder. If you want to do Delphi, follow the Delphi content. If you want to do C++ Builder, follow the C++ Builder content. You can follow both, but you cannot have both Delphi and C++ Builder installed on your computer. We're providing a smorgasbord, a collection, a lot more training than you can consume is the idea, and you pick the parts that you want and follow along where you can. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye.